It looks like we're going
Yes, sir, Mr. President, sir.
We're gonna call this to order. Everybody, please turn on your microphones. Thank you. We are convening Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022, joint meeting of Sugarland Development Corporation, the governing body of the city of Sugarland and SL4B Corporation. However, as per instruction from the secretary, 4B will convene the meeting after item number 4. Number 2, public comment. Mr. Secretary, do we have anyone who wants to comment?
No, sir.
Anyone here who would like to comment? Okay, thank you. We will go on to item number 3, minutes from the SLDC meeting of May 3rd. Anybody care to move to approve them?
Second.
Okay, discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Okay, number 4, workshop, Sugarland Development Corporation, review of and discussion on the proposed fiscal year 2023 budget. Scott Butler, Director of Budget and Strategy. Take it away, Scott.
You want me to know?
So for those at the 4B meeting, when we did our budget workshop, we presented this slide. And so forgive me, last minute, I wanted to make sure I was being equitable and included this in the SLDC's budget workshop item as well. So I'll hand it over to Scott soon. But these are our department overall large goals and priorities for this next fiscal year, and is what we kept in mind when we developed our FY23 budget. So we want to work on realigning our resources to the priorities. City Council has the new 2-year action plan. We want to make sure that all of the projects and strategies that we are working on are aligning with those. And so we took that under consideration when we made some of our budget decisions. We want to continue living the new culture, challenging the why, and improving our processes as we move along through this next fiscal year. We're going to continue to build our integrated marketing program, so business development and tourism, and you'll hear more about that in a future item here today. Lay the groundwork. We really need to focus on creating the product, which is the real estate, in order for us to land those projects, which are the businesses or the developments that we would like to achieve in economic development. And then, of course, we have our all-in projects, which we are involved in all of the all-in projects that are presented as part of the 2-year action plan, but these are the ones, some of the ones that we are most heavily involved in or have leadership positions in. The commercial redevelopment, residential reinvestment, the Imperial site development, and small business support. So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention, and Scott will take care of the rest of the budget presentation.
Hold your applause. So in the interest of time and efficiency for you all, I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer. I do have an hour's worth of material, but okay, so we're going to cover it.
Nowhere to be till about 7:30 tonight, so you're good.
Speak for yourself.
You're between us and dinner, so I'm wrong.
And that sums it up. Okay, so I'm gonna cover FY22, FY23. We'll talk about 5-year assumptions from a forecast perspective, and then we'll touch on capital projects. So you've seen this, you're familiar with it. From my standpoint, we are seeing unprecedented sales tax numbers. It's something to appreciate for this year, but we're more interested in what's behind it, and we continue to monitor what's behind it from a long-term perspective. So it's good for this year, and you'll see the revenue projections based on that, about $1.2 million more in terms of sales tax revenue for the SLDC. And then also the bond proceeds from the refunding that we had this year at the bottom. So that is the impact to the bottom line. And our projections are at $14.8 million for revenue. The bond proceeds, you'll see, it's more of an in and out. And so it comes out on the expenditure side. So there's an additional approximately $5.5 million of expenditures for payment to the escrow account tied to that refunding, as well as some miscellaneous costs for the refunding process. So for FY22, essentially our we're seeing about $2 million to the good that will fall to the bottom line for net income. So FY23, first, we're projecting that sales tax is going to continue to show some improvement, especially early on. And like I said, we'll continue to monitor it. So there's about $600,000 of additional revenue there. And then it is anticipated that TERS 3 is going to reach the $400 million valuation, as I mentioned to the 4B committee a couple weeks ago. And based on that, that triggers the reimbursement of the funds that were the city funds that were used for the city's contribution to the ballpark improvements. So those funds will be reimbursed. It's about $4.8 million. And so you can see the impact to revenue at $13.6 million. On the expenditure side, essentially there's changes to the capital projects. If you'll recall, there was money, $2 million set aside for the UH roadway improvements. We talked about that TxDOT is planning to fund that project. And so we basically removed the commitment that was in the two corporations, $2 million each for that project, as well as the Owens Road mobility bond project is also $2 million. So those are the major impacts on the expenditure side. So from a summary perspective, again, because of the anticipated reimbursements and the additional revenue, we had originally projected an ending fund balance of $1.48 million for FY23. That's been revised to 11.32. So it's great from the standpoint of, in terms of the tools available and resources available for economic development opportunities between these two corporations, and Elizabeth and her team, they have some opportunities there. On the capital project side, the only project that is noted for the SLDC is its portion of an economic development suite renovation. That is the office suite for the staff. I will say it's planned at this point because there are several different options, but we wanted to get something included in the budget so that if they had the opportunity to remodel the suite, then the resources were there to do it. Essentially, this is to give them the functionality to allow them to be successful, to allow them to help in their recruiting and retaining efforts, and give them a space that's more functional for their staff to be able to use. As far as our long-range assumptions, you'll see that we're following policy, our policy guidelines. We tend to do that from a conservative approach. So for TERS 1, it remains consistent at $1.6 million across the forecast. There is a total of $15 million across the forecast for reserve for opportunities. And then our incentives remain flat at $1.7 million per year.
Hey, Scott.
Yes, sir.
On the improvements, are you guys going upstairs? Going third floor on the vacant space that we have up there that we never finished out?
The vacant space is on the second floor.
Oh, it is on the second floor.
We are exploring multiple options right now. So
Because space you have, it's not enough space.
it's not enough space, and it's also not conducive to bringing corporations that we want to host site selectors. We ended up having a meeting here in this conference room. We want to create an environment that's welcoming and inviting and just appropriate for us to be hosting large corporations, startups, whatever it might be. So we were headed down the path, and we might be pivoting a little bit, but
Are you better off off-site? Or are you better off off-site?
we're going to be exploring those opportunities. So
Well,
we've got the
thinking along
money.
the same lines, I think you can be off-site.
So is the 250,000, is that a total number or is that just a 50%?
50%.
It's a 50% number. Okay, so it's 500 altogether. Okay.
You'd be off-site.
And again, at this point, it's more of a placeholder pending whatever decision they think is best.
Scott, one more question.
Yes, sir.
The 15 million across the forecast. How long is the forecast?
The forecast goes out through FY27. So it's 5 years.
That's
Okay. All right, and then, so this is what it looks like from a numbers perspective. So you can see that the ending fund balance is stable through that forecast period at just under $11 million. And our policy requirement for fund balance is at 15% of revenues. And so you'll see that it changes a little bit based on what our revenue projections are for the fund. And then the bond coverage ratio, as a reminder, the requirement that we shoot for is 1.25. And so you can see where it relates to that, and it grows in the out years to cover that bond funding ratio. So again, there's opportunities for investment based on the economic development opportunities that we see. Questions about this?
Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.
Okay, I would like to now join, call to order the Sugarland 4B meeting on August 2nd, 4:10 PM with the SLDC. And move to item 5, workshop review of and discussion on a proposed contract with DCI for the fiscal year 2023 integrated marketing program.
Good afternoon, board members. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. And today I will be joined by Kat Saunders virtually, our Executive Vice President of Client Strategy with DCI to workshop our contract, our proposed contract for year 3. I want to kick off by celebrating our Sugarland Office of Economic Development and DCI's successful partnership for the past 2 years. We began our partnership in 2020, and we have continuously worked together to create an evolving, comprehensive marketing strategy to position Sugarland as a strategic location for business investment and an economic powerhouse. As a refresher, our mission is to position Sugarland as an economic powerhouse, a strategic location for business investment, and a premier destination. We've executed robust PR and marketing strategies to connect with target corporate executives in key markets with the reinforcement of our key messages. You may be asking yourselves, what are those marketing strategies? Our integrated marketing strategies consist of activating a paid digital strategy, continual website optimization, social media development and engagement, community outreach through interactive and experiential activities, and proactively generating media coverage to target our key audiences with the goal of positioning Sugarland as a strategic location for business investment and an economic powerhouse. You guys can see that. Now, let's take a look at our reported successes. Just this year alone, we secured a total of 68 million media impressions and ad media equivalency of 660,000 and 21 media stories. This is huge, and we are beyond thrilled about the coverage we received. So let's dive in. As part of our strategy to position Sugarland as a strategic location for business investment, we have continued to implement the following theme lines in our media outreach. To position Sugarland as a leader in technology and other innovative industries, supported by spotlighting business leaders in Sugarland's business community, generating awareness on a national and regional level. A great place to live and work, supported by SLTX rankings, demographics, and higher education assets to demonstrate the region's strong workforce. A pro-business city and a pro-business state, offering partnership and support to businesses of all sizes, as well as place-making stories that leverages lifestyle assets like sports and our tourism destination venues. This is just for you to see all the other coverage we've been able to secure. Now, I want to specifically highlight the coverage we received from NPR correspondent Tom Wilmer. This is our first media visit, and I had such a wonderful experience hosting him, showcasing our business community and our city assets. There were a total of 10 episodes that included our mayor, our director of economic development, Constellation Field, SFC, and more. 20+ podcast platforms picked these stories up, which put the Sugarland story in front of more than 15 million listeners. This is an excellent example of how one media visit could lead to multiple results across new platforms that our key target audiences are using.
All the episodes, of course, can be streamed on NPR, Apple, or directly on the journalist's website. If you haven't heard all of the episodes, I encourage you guys to follow us on our Visit Sugarland Facebook, our Office of Economic Development's LinkedIn and Twitter channel. We've been sharing them on there. So please listen to them. As an FYI, we have also been releasing all the episodes on a weekly basis, and I encourage you guys to also promote them on y'all's channels. Trust me, they're worth it. Sorry about that. Part of our sharing strategy includes to list episodes on our website under their respective key industries. We're doing weekly Yammer postings. We're doing weekly EcoDev director emails to all directors within the organization. My colleague John Soriano will be sending weekly emails to all SL4B members starting next week, so stay tuned. Essentially the idea is to share coverage with internal and external audiences, all with the goal of keeping Sugarland top of mind. As part of our contract deliverables in year 2, DCI assisted us in securing site selector appointments with several consulting firms such as Cushman and Wakefield and Avison Young, just to name a few. Additionally, in year 2, DCI committed to delivering a total of 6 SLTX success stories, which are all SEO optimized by DCI's team of digital experts as part of our integrated marketing strategy to drive visitation to our website. Additional tactics include to share them on our social media, pitch them to industry-focused media outlets, and to include them in our newsletter. Stories included the Smart Financial Center, Space Cowboys, Hope Biosciences, University of Sugarland, Texas Instruments, and there's one more coming down the pipeline where we'll be featuring Pink Zebra. As part of our Contract 2 strategy was to create 5 industry one-pagers. Industry one-pagers will be housed within each key sector industry landing page with a call to action to download the one-pager. They'll be shared at our grassroots marketing events, such as a vendor booth, a sponsor booth, shared with site selectors and real estate brokers to support business development and attraction. And as you can see on the screen here, and fun promotional videos repurposing our collected B-roll to later showcase them on social media. In addition to these marketing highlights, we have refreshed our brand key messages that we worked in 2017 for business, tourism, talent, and workforce, and meetings and sales audiences, which come in hand with proactively pitching to media and overall content development.
Have all the one-pagers been done?
Yes,
Okay,
they're currently in design right now.
thank you.
As you may recall, in contract 2, we requested SL4B to contribute an additional $20K for tourism. And here is what has been delivered. The development of a new logo for Visit Sugarland to complement to the SLTX brand to give VSLs its new identity in the destination marketplace. We launched a Space Cowboys tourism marketing campaign, which secured media coverage in outlets like MSN.com and the Houston Chronicle. We developed customized digital community campaigns to promote our giveaways, ticket sales, and restaurants and hotel offerings, to name a few, which is all part of our integrated marketing strategy to keep Sugarland top of mind. Now, moving on to our social media metrics, it has been a tremendous year for our LinkedIn channel, nearly doubling our followers and increasing our engagement year over year. So if you guys aren't following us, please do so. I promise you we share a lot of cool content on there. As you see here, we're almost at 1,500 followers on LinkedIn, which is great because it is the #1 social media platform being used by business decision makers, which confirms that we're posting content that is resonating with current and new audiences.
As you recall, we added our new Twitter channel last spring and are watching it closely to see how our content continues to resonate with those audiences.
Because it looks like it went down.
No,
On the
this
Twitter.
is how many total number of followers we acquired between 21 and 22.
Oh, okay.
And then,
So it's a total number of additional.
yes. This is a platform we're still currently analyzing and working on. And you're gonna hear Kat talk a little bit about our social media analysis, where we're gonna analyze all of our social media handles and analyze and make recommendations as to which ones are gonna work for us or not. Okay, and now that you've heard about our achieved milestones, Kat will review some of the projects that are in progress before we close out year 2. So I'm gonna toss it over to Kat.
Thanks, Melissa. Hi, everyone, and apologies, I had planned to be there, but due to some childcare juggling, I wasn't able to travel today, but it's nice to see everyone virtually. We do have a lot of good activity as we come into the last 60 or so days of this program. Together, we have a media visit with Forbes on the lifestyle angle that's planned for this fall. We're finishing up the promotional videos, which have all gone through storyboarding and approvals with the local team. Those will be completed in kind of mid to late August. We have more e-newsletters going out to our site selection consultants, where we're able to tout successes that are happening on the ground and also give people more insight on innovative programs that are offered for business attraction. We're finishing up our success stories, as we mentioned, the SEO pages, so optimizing all the content on the website, so when people are looking for Sugarland, they can find it. And just, again, refining this, we're really adding another level of sophistication to the digital kind of front door, as we like to say. We go to the next slide. As we look ahead into our 3rd year of working with you, we go back one slide. As we go through working with you in year 3, we've kind of gone through a foundational year, kind of a building momentum year, creating content and deliverables, and now in a real active execution type year. I'm going to walk you through a few of the things that are different. But as you can see, it has a similar focus and scope of our previous years, just another level up in sophistication in terms of your marketing. Go to the next page. So we're continuing to support site selection, and as Devin works to continue on building product with the team there, we will continue to get you kind of top of mind as people are looking at the Houston region. We really build off the excitement around Texas as a relocation opportunity right now, making sure that you have one-on-one relationships with people in the business, both inside and outside of the state, making sure that we have the right kind of content that people are looking for on your website. We're also exploring possibly doing events now that there's a more of an appetite for in-person opportunities, to continue to build those relationships and at the same time showcase a lot of your awesome, arts, cultural event type venues that you have there, just so that people can experience them firsthand. Next slide, please. We're also continuing to build on media relations. And, we see this a lot with clients. In year 1, you're kind of figuring things out. Year 2, you're telling stories, you start to get traction. We're in, the end of year 2 and just love where we are on this. We think we've made a big difference. The team on the ground there in Sugarland is right there now when we know how to, if we share a media lead, we have processes in place to find spokespeople and be able to take that lead. Oftentimes we have very little lead time and turn it around, get us what we need. Karina Tisnes is on the phone with me as well, and she really oversees this with the team there in Sugarland. We're also continuing the media visits. These are great ways for people to really get on the ground and experience place. Proactive and reactive public relations as we have, and then also communication support. Anytime there's a way to talk about something or present something, we're constantly in communication with the team, both kind of having that ongoing open line of communication on how we are positioning Sugarland as a place for relocation and investment. Next slide, please. We'll continue our digital support, but one thing I would like to call out here is the social media strategy. Now that there is ample content on the site, we're really able to take an analytical look at how things are performing, how your consumers are engaging with what content we're putting out. This is a wonderful opportunity for us to evaluate, what's working. And I'll tell you, what worked during COVID is different now. What people are looking at and what they have an appetite for is different. So it's a nice time for us to evaluate that. So we'll be doing an audit and reshaping the strategy for how social content is shared. We will also take into account Visit Sugarland on this so that we can really understand how the brands live together in terms of forming perception and reputation. Oftentimes people use visitation to formulate their perception on how places are to live and work. So we'll take a close look at that. And we'll continue community outreach. We've done a really fabulous job of working with the local team on using things like Nextdoor and other new resources that reach residents so that residents feel they're also part of this process with us and not alienating through our attraction activities. Next slide. I mentioned some of this already, but just to reiterate on the digital advertising here, E&Y's workforce study that has been shared with us. We used it to write the industry one-pagers, but we are also realigning our targets specifically on search and LinkedIn to really hone in on those pillars that EY identified for your target industry sector outreach. So that will be slightly reconfigured on the back end of our digital advertising program this year. Next slide. And I will tee it back up to Melissa. Thank you.
Now let's review the budget terms and conditions. We are proposing a 12-month integrated marketing program for a total of $335,340. That includes similar services from year 2, and as you've heard Kat talk about, costs would be shared between 4A and 4B. 4A would be paying approximately $147,670, and the 4B would be paying $187,670. The 4B, we're requesting for them to pay an additional $20K to support marketing activations for Sugar Land hospitality business community like hotels and our destination venues. You heard me earlier talk about how we've been able to use some of that $20K for contract year 2. And as you can see on the screen, the fees and expenses are broken down. So the professional fees are on the left side and those are paid on a monthly basis. On the right these are projected expenses that will be paid on as needed whenever we request those services.
So Melissa, what's the other 20,000 for?
So the $20,000 that you're seeing on the 4B would be the request of the additional $20,000. So you're just seeing $20,000 in addition to that amount.
Oh, because okay, I'm missing something because it looks like 40. The difference between 187 and 147 is 40.
Oh, that's an oversight on my side.
Okay.
Right, you're right.
Checking.
And just so we pay for BSL type expenses out of 4B, not 4A, just because of statutory requirements.
Yes, my bad. I apologize about that.
It's okay.
But yes, did I help answer your question as far as like what we'd be requesting that $20K for? Okay. So something to keep in mind in contract year 3 is that the contract actually is going to be $26,200 less than it was in contract year 2. Because we have continued to refine our scope of services for contract year 3, as you heard earlier. For your reference, I don't know if you're going to ask this question or not, but I'm just going to go ahead and toss it out there. We have expensed so far in year 2, $294,940.94. And we're projecting an estimated cost savings of approximately $40,000 this year.
Melissa, Kat, you guys mentioned social media content and that you can now that we have the content out there, we can evaluate performance.
Right.
Do we expect to drop some of those platforms?
We don't, not yet, which is what we're proposing for contract year 3. So part of that social media analysis that's changing in year 3 is that we're going to incorporate all of Visit Sugar Land social channels.
As of right now, the DCI work that they've been doing on the social side has predominantly been for the Office of Economic Development. So we're gonna analyze everything holistically and figure out from there, like, is Twitter really the platform for us to continue to create content for? Because if it's not, then we need to repurpose and allocate our content for maybe TikTok or Instagram. Just not, we're not gonna activate those channels, but I'm just giving an idea.
Well, and that's what I'm asking. So,
Yes.
so you're gonna continue to push content,
Yes,
and then, but at some point in time, if you're not seeing it, you know,
then, yes,
if you're not getting it, if it's not getting us what we want, then it's time to shift to another platform.
exactly. And that's part of the social media analysis that we're gonna be doing with DCI. Then we make they would make the recommendation. We as a team, we meet on a bi-weekly basis. And we'd analyze like, okay, so Twitter is not moving the needle for us, so I think we just need to retire the channel.
Yep.
And that's kind of like the solution that we're proposing for year 3.
What's the percentage of increase of traffic on the website?
On the website right now,
Since, we were talking earlier on some other slides about, reevaluating everything, but we've noticed a lot of more traffic on the website. What is the
absolutely.
percentage of increase in that over
I
this
will-
past year?
Show those additional slides. I had a feeling I was gonna get that question, so, great question. Yeah, you don't mind. So what I can tell you here, I actually have the notes here. So the Google ads, so part of our paid media results, which is driving all the traffic to our website right now that you're hearing us talk about. Google ads were our top source of website conversions, accounting 46.39% of our total conversions from January through July. And then our Google ads were the top traffic driver to our website. So it's it was 49% increase.
But that's paid advertising.
Yes.
That's due to the campaign, correct?
The campaigns. And what we see in our analytics every month when we review our paid performance, our paid campaigns, it's what's predominantly driving traffic to our site. That all answer your question?
So one more, I'm sorry. For LinkedIn, we went from 700 to 1,400 followers. I think LinkedIn is a really good one. I see it all the time. So how do you go out and capture more followers on that?
On LinkedIn?
Yes.
So it's all part of our content. So, we position our success stories on there. One of the new things that we've been integrated into our social content strategy has been, like, for example, Elizabeth was earlier today at the P3 market outreach. That's something that we share. So in hopes to generate engagement and conversion with the intent to drive visitation to the website. Also, part of the content that DCI helps us create is focusing on our key industry sectors to attract real estate brokers, site selectors.
Are you actively reaching out to people and say, I want you to like this page?
We're doing that. Our team is doing that. And then whenever we share content, we see a lot of shares. So we capitalize on that opportunity where people share and we gain followers from there.
Yeah, and the nice thing about the content strategy is that our goal is to not pay for followers. Our goal is to provide our audiences with information that they like, that builds credibility with the entire OED team and with the Sugarland brand, so that they naturally, organically follow it because they see Sugarland as, they see it as a valuable resource for them, which is kind of different than like a consumer strategy of maybe paying to, engage with their content so that you buy something. It's just a little different. It's building up that credibility and awareness so that the entire economic development team's perception is kind of elevated as thought leaders within the industry too. That's also part of it. Is you'll notice a lot of times we'll tag, Elizabeth Huff or, Devin Rodriguez, we'll actually do that sometime really to pull in other audience and again, build their brand in the economic development space, because as you know, in Texas, it's a competitive sport. So we like to elevate the leaders of the OED team there, really as executives within the industry as well.
I want to add something to what you just said, Kat. So I know every time I've come in here, I've told you guys to follow our channels and engage with us. So you'd actually be helping us a lot whenever you share our content. We'd be gaining some of the followers that you probably have that we don't have. So that would be another part of our sharing strategy to generate engagement.
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Oh, and this is kind of off the side, but is there any, within this marketing strategy, anything with regards to our visitor center and the museum or anything like that that we have in place?
So for the visitor center, right now, we're only open on a seasonal basis. So we're only open for the summer, and I think we're gonna be closed like at the end of August. So we do drive visitation on there, but it's only on the weekends, but we're not really seeing a lot of that traffic. But when we do, for example, in October, the Sugarland Heritage Foundation is going to be partnering up with this nonprofit another nonprofit to host the Dia de los Muertos event. So
Yes.
whenever we're hosting big events like that, that's when we capitalize and put marketing dollars behind those campaigns. But right now, we just have the retail space and we capitalize on the foot traffic from the families that come from the Fort Bend Children's Discovery Center.
Right, because they just had their first wedding
Yes.
in June. That would have been
Yes.
something that we could have,
And that
did
is.
some type of a blurb on.
And part of that is going to be part of our meeting and sales strategy that we're doing with our sales and events manager to be positioning Sugarland as a meetings destination, Sugarland as a meetings destination. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because
I'm
we were
like, it wasn't
talking
coming
about,
out.
we were talking about possibly using that space for some corporations to come together and have meetings.
And we
things like
can
that.
use that. You can connect with me, you can connect with my associate Mary Verduda, and we can make that reservation, absolutely.
So what we've seen is, because of COVID and all of that activation, we have to reduce our operations of that facility. Staff still goes there. We're really focusing on the high traffic seasons. And so where you're gonna see us pivot is that e-commerce and trying to support the small business program through an e-commerce store. So we have the retail center, but we don't have visitors. So how can we try to, actually sell some retail goods and then because we don't have people coming into the physical store, how do we do that online? So we're really excited about that, and that's one of our all-in initiatives as well as a small business support. And then I think other than the heritage hikes, we support those. I think one good thing that's actually come from us reducing our hours, it has allowed the Heritage Foundation to increase their operations, like when they can host stuff. So they're like the wedding, like they may not have been able to do that for our previous operations agreement because of how our time limits there. So we're really hoping and encouraging them to use it as often as possible and activate it so it's more of their platform now than versus ours, because we just aren't seeing the visitors coming in. So.
But the visitor center falls under the Visit Sugarland tourism efforts as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Melissa,
Yes.
you had mentioned in the budgeting one, you had said that for this year 2, we're coming in at 40,000 under.
We're having a cost saving. So by the time we expense our September bill, we're probably going to see 40,000 left over of savings.
Right, and then for 2023, you said the budget number is down 26,000. That's 26 versus the original budget, not the $40,000 less,
Yes.
right? Okay, so we're essentially going to be spending about 14,000 more if we were to spend everything. All right.
No. So, for example, what I brought up as far as this year in contract 2, we've expensed so far $294,940.94 to be exact. We're projecting to have approximately $40,000 in cost savings, that $40,000 that we're not going to expense in the overall contract that we did for year 2. Now, for contract year 3, what we're proposing with the amount being 335 and 340, it's going to be $26,000 less than contract year 2.
Okay, that's what it's, okay, that's what.
Okay.
I can speak to that too, just to tell you, our agency operates a little different because we work with so many government and public sector type clients. We only bill our expenses as incurred, where a lot of agencies that, you know, even when I used to work for, we would bill like, this is how much we think we're going to use in expenses and bill it, you know, as part of the contract. We don't do that. We just bill as things come in, we submit them for approval and they're reviewed. So if you don't need RFP support this year, then we won't bill you for that. So these items on the other side are things that only as, you know, they become needed, we will then invoice the team for that, but not unless they're incurred.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you, Kat.
Thank you very much, everyone. I hope to see you soon.
Oh, one final thing, I apologize. So the next steps, we did the workshop today. SL4B contract consideration is scheduled for August 17th and SLDC contract consideration for September 6th. And we're hoping if all goes well, we want to begin contract on October 1st.
Great. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
All right. The next item is review of and discussion on the Sugar Land real estate market and the economic development project pipeline. Jessica. And Oliver.
So some of these faces may look familiar to you, but this is actually Alba and Jessica's first presentation to the 4B board and SLDC, but I'm sure as council you guys have seen them, but this is Alba Piñate Johnson. She is our business development manager, and Jessica Hubble, who is our public-private partnership manager. And so they've been with us for a while, so I won't go through their resume, but we're really excited for you to hear what they have to share with you today.
So good afternoon. I promise not to take up too much of your time. But today, Jessica and I will be giving you a current market and real estate update for Sugar Land. We have gotten feedback from you that you want to see and understand the state of our market in comparison to our surrounding areas. So this presentation is going to give you an update and also let you know our strategy, our business development division strategy going into fiscal year 23. So let's take a look at the conditions of our three main markets. For our office market, we are approximately at 17% vacancy with a slight increase from the prior period, and an additional 2,000 square feet has been vacated since last period. The market's average rent is around $29, also a slight increase from the last period. And as the market moves forward towards stabilization from pandemic impacts, this is why we've seen an increase. New office inventory has increased with the addition of approximately 3 new spaces equaling about 17,000 square feet. And as you can see on this map, most of our vacancy for office is located in the Sugar Creek Center area with small clusters near Town Center and along Highway 59. The challenges that we face with our office market is other competing markets. Our office market is trying to secure deals for 1.5 million square feet of vacant space at a rate of about $29 per square foot. Bigger but competing markets are West Chase District, who's at 28% vacancy with a rate of approximately $26 per square foot. We also compete with the Energy Corridor, who's at about 20% vacancy with a rate of $20 per square foot. The West Chase District built the bulk of its office space in the mid-2000s and offers diversified housing nearby. The Energy Corridor has walkable amenities and also looking for the same core industries we are. Overall, both markets are incentivizing their office space to where tenants are paying less for rent and offer major concessions that discount the rates. We also compete against the suburban office market like the Woodlands, and the Woodlands is standing at 16% vacancy at about $29 per square foot. Some of their advantages is having more executive housing, their proximity to Bush Intercontinental Airport, luxury shopping, and not having a permitting process. The Woodlands was built to be an office destination.
Well,
Yes, sir.
I'm in the Energy Corridor, and I think now what they're offering is you can get a year, maybe 2 years of free rent. Plus they're offering additional incentives for build out. So higher dollar amounts for build out than probably what we're offering.
Yes.
And that's not reflected in those prices though.
It is not, it's not reflected.
Is there occupancy? I'm looking at ours is 17.1. And go to the energy corridor, 22, the other one, West Chase 28. Is that because they're overbuilt for today's market?
They have more inventory. So our office market is smaller, theirs is bigger.
Okay. That's interesting.
So just like us, all these other markets are seeing their vacancy and rates and prices trending downwards. The trends that emerged during the pandemic, like employers not bringing workers back to the office, do play a critical role in the demand for office space. But the most important factor in Sugar Land is that we have not built Class A office space in almost a decade, and flight to quality, walkable tenant amenities, and co-working spaces will be and already are key trends. For our industrial market, we are at 3.9 vacancy with a decrease from the prior period. We have new businesses like CubeWorks and Platoon USA in our business park, and they have leased approximately 240,000 square feet in industrial spec space over the last few quarters. The vacant square feet has decreased following the lease space, and the market's average rent is $8.61, also a slight increase from the last period. And this is due to the market's vacancies being lower and the demand for industrial space still being high. Inventory square feet has increased slightly with the addition of warehouse projects like Blue Bonnet Nutrition. They're adding about 128,000 square feet within the business park. And as you can see on the map, a big chunk of vacant industrial space is the former Fairfield Nodal building on Gillingham Lane, which accounts for about 212,000 square feet. Our biggest challenge with this market is that we need more inventory. We're nearly at build out. We have the Sugar Land Business Park that is zoned M1 for light industrial and manufacturing. And this park has flourished over the last few years as we added industrial spec space. We did see that even before construction ended for this space, it was already leased. So even when the pandemic arrived, we did not see a decrease in demand. We saw an increase in demand. Out of the 455,000 square feet available in our business park, like I mentioned before, 212,000 of that is in the former Fairfield site. And then the rest, which is 243,000 square feet, is only in 15 other spaces. And then many of these spaces will need redevelopment due to the aging building infrastructure. We also have less than 3% greenfield left in the business park, with parcels averaging 4 acres. Within the projects we are working on, at least 2 of these parcels have already been set aside for current business expansions. With that and detention requirements, there's very little developable land. Our retail market, we're at 5.7% vacancy with a decrease from the prior period. The vacant square feet has decreased as retail bounces back from the pandemic, but it is at a steadier pace now. The market's average rent is about $26, also a slight increase as the market deals with lapses in consumer demand, and it does increase the rent prices. No new inventory square feet has been added, and none showing under construction that will be completed this quarter or by the end of the year. We have clusters in the intersection of Highway 59 and Highway 6 near Town Center, where we are now. And across the street at Market at Town Center, we have about 42,000 square feet within 9 spaces. And then as you can see, there's a big chunk of vacant retail space near the Sugar Creek Village Center. It's about 40,000 square feet in 6 spaces. And in the River Park Shopping Center, we have 96,000 square feet. That was the former Gander Mountain space. These are large spaces within a retail center that would need redevelopment and a breakdown of these big spaces into several to attract retail boxes. We've talked to real estate advisory firm A&G, and they are seeing leasing activity from big box retailers, but for smaller concepts. Like, for example, a Forbes article showcased Macy's starting a smaller store concept of about 20,000 square feet called Market by Macy's within retail strip centers. So while our retail is doing well, our challenge within the retail market is the consumer base. According to Census 2020, our median age in Sugar Land is 42 and the highest compared to our surrounding areas. We are followed by Missouri City with a median age of 40, Pearland and Richmond with a median age of 35 and below, and Rosenberg with a median age of 30. Retail growth is dependent on housetops and people. Inclusive of our annexation in 2017, our population has only grown about 0.2% over the last 5 years. And that is according to our workforce study, and we are not adding new housing stock. In order to grow our retail and attract the type of experiential retail or higher end retail we want, we need more people and we need it to be constantly growing. We're no longer the only shopping around, as you can see by our surrounding areas.
How many did you say Missouri City was 40?
40.
So there it's just 35%.
The median, oh, that is inclusive of Stafford.
That's inclusive.
Yeah.
So Missouri City by itself.
By itself is 40. And so now I'll pitch it over to Jessica to go into our projects.
Okay, so that leads us into projects and leads. And we received these from our partners, like the Governor's Office, Greater Houston Partnership, and our business communities. So as you're aware, this past year, we commissioned Ernst & Young for a workforce and target industry analysis. And this looked into the areas where our city is strong and competitive, but also the areas that need improvement and that we need to work towards to maintain that long-term economic growth. So our responses to our projects largely are focused on these 5 target industries. So advanced manufacturing, professional services, life sciences, information technology, and tourism. So over the past fiscal year, we've received 80 leads, of which there are 10 active projects. The total capital investment we've secured through these projects is $4.6 million, with $174 million in the pipeline. Out of those 80 leads, we did not submit on 85% of those. We'll go into that in a few minutes. Of the 10 active projects, they are primarily within our target industries like advanced manufacturing, life sciences, technology, and professional services. So for the 85% we did not submit on, the number one reason is the lack of land. For most of the projects, for the leads that we're receiving, they're for industrial and manufacturing land. And as Ali mentioned earlier, we have very limited and little greenfield left, especially in our business park, where that's the only M1 zoning available at this time. So for this reason, we're also very selective, and we want to ensure that the projects we are submitting on are within our target industries. So we're also seeing project leads that are coming in asking between 200,000 square feet all the way to 1 million square feet. And we just can't, unfortunately, can't accommodate that. So all this information we've went over, what do we do with it? How do we use it? Knowledge is power. So as we work towards FY23, we understand that Sugar Land has enough assets to be successful. We're a great community and nobody ever challenges that. But that being said, we understand the challenges that come with this redevelopment stage. And this is why we prioritized a real estate strategy that will help support the development or creation of the product to attract those projects that align with our target industries that we just discussed. And then this also aligns with the City Council's 2-year action plan, 2-year strategic plan. So with that said, the Business Development Division will be prioritizing the following efforts for FY23. So regional detention, we want to make sure we're maximizing all of our existing industrial land to get the best use out of it. The Central Unit Project, we want to ensure the continuation of our existing Sugar Land Business Park because we are limited with the space there. So that would be the next space that we would be looking to move to. And then redevelopment of activity centers that will allow for the mix of uses like quality office space, various housing options, the quality retail and walkable amenities. I believe we've shared with you before in the Ernst & Young study that a little over 7,000 residents live and work in Sugar Land compared to 45,000 who live in Sugar Land but work outside of the community. So the redevelopment of activity centers will help align that workforce retention that we're trying to achieve. And then lastly, the workforce development with a life science focus. So Sugar Land saw tremendous job growth in the life sciences sector by nearly 92% between 2015 and 2020. This is 8 times the national average. So we anticipate continued employment growth of approximately 33% through 2030, adding over 3,000 new jobs in Sugar Land between 2020 and 2030. So we've also joined advisory boards like Fort Bend ISD CTE to begin taking steps towards developing curriculum in that K through 12 level to create a life science workforce channel for our community, which is really important. We want to make sure that the students and young professionals that we are molding have jobs to go to in our community and that they don't leave. And then we're also talking to local brokers, the local broker community and our national life science developers to see if there are opportunities to retrofit office space to life science or lab space. According to the New York Times, there's a 34% increase in demand for lab space, with 20% of all office space being built out for life sciences. So these strategies align with the city council's two-year action plan that prioritize reimagining growth, commercial development, and redevelopment strategies. So with all of that information, we're happy to take any questions, comments.
I've got a comment.
Yeah.
On your previous slide, where it says maximizing an existing industrial land. What's happening is I think the people that own that land, they've sat on it for such a long time. What used to be $4 a square foot is 13 to 15. If they know that central unit is going to be coming soon, it may lower their expectations and we can build on it. Right now, that dirt is just too expensive for others to put on there. I mean, I don't know if there's a strategy that you all can go out to these existing owners and say, you know what, we do have another, Mayor said it earlier, 160,000 square feet coming. I don't know if it's a possibility or not.
Those are active conversations that we have with them. A lot of those parcels of land are also set aside for expansions for their businesses. So they're just waiting for the right
Yeah,
opportunity.
but there's a lot of for sale signs out there.
Or if
Yes.
we're keeping the competition out.
Yes.
There's a lot of people who have bought excess land and have no desire to sell it because they're not going to sell it to their competition.
Yes.
With 150 acres, 160 acres for central is a big deal once it comes on.
Once it comes on board.
We've solved the drainage now, so it's ready to go.
Prison land.
But the comment about regional retention that we're looking for specifically in our Sugarland Business Park, we had a recent project with Blue Bonnet. They actually wanted to build a bigger building, but they had to cut back their square footage by about 20,000 square feet because they had to meet the detention requirements.
Right.
So that's capital investment that we lost out on. So if we can find a solution that maybe is funded from other economic development dollars that might be helping with providing that regional retention, that allows people that when they do come in to develop, they can expand, they can build more than what we were previously allowed to under the.
But Devin, that's only if you dig a hole in the ground. You can also do these boxes underneath and build over the top of it. A good example is there are two sites over off I-10 where there's a little attention now with 2 fountains, but most of it's under the 2 hotels.
Yes, the point we're trying to make, I understand that there can be underground detention, and that's how some of the sites have developed. What we're talking about is trying to take that detention requirement out of a parcel by parcel basis. And how can we take on the detention in the larger areas of the business park so that they can fully build out their parcels that they have.
And just in addition to that comment, we've talked to businesses and underground detention is more expensive. And with material prices increasing and everything just kind of going up, they're just looking at different options. Or they're looking for-
That's where you may end up with some kind of subsidy, where you have a direct investment in the underground detention as opposed to, I mean, it's the chicken or the egg. You want,
Bigger.
Take a bigger hole in the ground somewhere else. You want to go ahead and invest it.
What about underground detention under parking garages? Is it as expensive as being under office or retail building?
It's just, we did that. The firm I work for, we did that for that.
Because I see a lot of land that could be consolidated if you shrunk the parking footprint in a lot of places.
Yeah, structured parking right now is probably over 20,000 space.
Yeah.
It was 12 or 14.
But there's just a lot of shifting going on, not just in the economy, but even in our local area with regards to utilization of space. And it looks like we're not in the hurt locker. We're kind of in the wait and see locker. And that goes to the landowners, property owners, as well as the tenants, as far as what shifting is occurring. But we've got, even though I know the E&Y report said 45 outside the area go outside the area to work, 7 in. I'm really curious to see how that shifting goes, because we have a good workforce here. We have, very educated community. by and large, and particularly with life sciences. So, you know, the additional opportunities for the P3s and for the other investments to support industries that play into our capabilities or our experience base would be helpful. But, you know, it's just a mixed bag on the central unit. I don't know how that's going to be utilized if and when that comes in with the plan.
Industrial.
Sorry,
That's far, that's
what will it be?
industrial.
Industrial.
Which is
Okay.
what we need, that's what we
Okay.
need.
And so
Then,
because we own that, we're already working on the drainage, we're working on access, we're
Yeah.
working on all the things to get that ready, as sharp ready as we can. But then how do we still make best use of the Shoreline Business Park when there is opportunity there too? So we're trying to look at it as a holistic view of how do we make use of the land we have? Because at the end of the day, we are landlocked and that won't change, right? So how do we take this information and move forward? And that's, we're gonna continue bringing this back to you guys probably annually,
Right,
because it's gonna change, right? And the world is changing very quickly nowadays, so we want you guys to be informed and ask questions and know where we stand. We think that's really important, so you understand what we're working towards.
Appreciate the presentation.
Is there anything else?
Any other questions? Thanks, Aldo, thanks, Jessica.
Thank you.
The next item is the director's report, Elizabeth Huff.
Normally, I would bring a marketing update, but you already got a lot of wonderful marketing updates. So with that, I will see y'all later.
We have a motion to adjourn.
So,
Motion to adjourn from the PC.
How are you, Mayor?
Yeah, I didn't have that.